So today's Bible passage comes from Matthew chapter 21 to 16. It's the parable of workers in the vineyard. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and sent them into his vineyard. About 9 in the morning, he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace, doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again, and about noon and about 3 in the afternoon, he did the same thing. About 5 in the afternoon, he went out and found still others standing around. He asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long, doing nothing?" "Because no one has hired us," they answered. He said to them, "You also go and work in my vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going on to the first." The workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came and each received a denarius. So when those who were hired first, they expected to receive more, but each one of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. "These who were hired last worked only 1 hour," they said, "and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day." But he answered one of them, "I am not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who has hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I am generous?" So the last will be first, and the first will be last. This is God's word. I now invite Sam for the talk.
So when you read a book, you're meant to start from the beginning, read through it, and come to the end. But when you read an academic journal, you're meant to do the opposite. You're meant to start at the back, scan the headings, and then come to the front. It's the opposite of what you usually do. And maybe that's how life feels for us right now, because we get told to chase our dreams, but somehow we still end up empty, anxious and unfulfilled. What if we have things upside down? So welcome to Feb Talks. We're doing Unleashing the Power of Paradox, flipping the script on an upside down world. We do a Feb Talks every year, and this is our second season doing Unleashing the Power of Paradox. And to do this, we're going to look at stories that Jesus tells us in the Bible, because in these stories, Jesus has a paradox that he uses to flip our world upside down the right way back up. And this month, we're going to flip the script on the paradox of living your best life. In our second week today, the paradox of chasing your dreams, then the paradox of being true to yourself, and finally the paradox of living in the moment. And today is week 2, so we're going to do the paradox of chasing your dreams, and we're going to try to answer this question: how do I chase my dreams? And I'm going to try to answer this now in the form of a 20-minute talk, followed by question and answer from you guys. So as I'm speaking, think of whatever question you want to ask, and I'll do my best to answer it a little while later. So let's begin. In the Bible reading that we just heard, Jesus tells a story where people were trying to chase their dreams. They follow the script that we're given, but there's going to be a paradox. And Jesus is going to flip our script upside down. So let's begin. The script we're usually given is this: you got to chase your dreams. So let's go to the story that Jesus tells us in the Bible. Jesus tells us this: for the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius, which is 1 day's wage, for the day, and sent them into his vineyard. About 9 in the morning, he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You also go, work in my vineyard, and I'll pay you whatever is right." So they went. Jesus tells a story where a rich landowner hires workers to work for him in his vineyard. This would be like as if today a rich venture capitalist funded your startup dream. So now you are literally #living the dream. And the meme living the dream pops up everywhere and has the idea that stop doing your boring life, Stop doing what others are telling you to do. Instead, chase your dreams. Maybe become a rock star, a professional surfer, a ski instructor, an artist. Invent a shoe company. Don't do what others tell you to do. Instead, do what you love. Follow your passions. Chase your dreams. Steve Jobs is the poster child of chasing your dreams because Steve Jobs dropped out of college. He has no degree, but he went and founded Apple. Steve Jobs made a difference in a famous graduation speech, which has been watched millions of times, to Stanford University. Steve Jobs tells them and us, you've got to find what you love. It's a great story. It sets us free. But if it's such a good story, why are we still so empty, unfulfilled, restless, and anxious? Well, this brings us to the paradox. And the paradox is this: not everything is so dreamy. Let's go back to the story. When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and then going on to the first. Because in the story, the rich man hired people at 6 in the morning, then at 9 in the morning, then at 12 noon, then at 3 in the afternoon, and then 5 in the afternoon. So some only worked 1 hour, others worked 12 hours. They called the last ones hired, going on to the first. And the workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came and each received a denarius, 1 day's wage. So when those who were hired first, they expected to receive more. But each of them also received a denarius, which is 1 day's wage. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. They said, hey, these who were hired last worked only 1 hour. You've made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day. For these people, they're grumpy, they're unhappy, their dream hasn't worked out. And maybe the same will happen for us, because there are certain problems with chasing our dreams. There are at least 3 problems. The first problem is this, and it's a philosophical problem. Whose dream is it anyway? When you're in high school, you have to wear what they tell you to wear. There's a uniform. But when you leave high school, you can wear whatever you want to wear. So what do? We still wear what everyone else is wearing. We swap one uniform for another. We're still doing what we're told. And so when we're told to do what you love, follow your passions, chase your dreams, we think we're doing what we want to do, but we're actually still doing what we're told. In this book called Clash, the authors argue that, hey, as an Asian, when you practice your piano, as everyone in this room once did, when you practice your piano, well, you're doing it because you're doing what mum and dad tell you to do. But the Western culture is different. When you go with your heart, when you do what makes you happy, when you follow your dreams, well, actually, you're now doing what Western social norms tell you to do. You're still doing what you're being told to do. That's the first problem. The second problem is a pragmatic problem. Our dreams can be a cruel joke. You know, when you were young in primary school and they said, hey, you know, if you can touch your nose with your tongue, it shows you're intelligent. And of course, it's a joke because you can't touch your nose with your tongue. Well, it's a bit the same. When we're told to follow your dreams, it's actually almost impossible to find your dreams. This is Nassim Nicholas Taleb, New York Times bestseller. The book, The Black Swan. He's a mathematician. He's an economist. He's an options trader. He says the chances of you finding your dreams, you're actually basically now throwing your life on the fortunes of the tyranny of luck. Let's say you did something boring and you did what you were told. So you became an accountant. Boring, right? But at least your life is now on the bell curve. By and large, life is going to go all right with you. But let's say you want to chase your dreams. Taleb now says you're on the L curve. 99.9% of us won't find our dreams. Only like 0.1% will. And the difference between Harry Styles, who wins Grammy Awards, and this random YouTuber who gets no views is almost nothing. They're just as skilled. It's just Harry Styles got the breaks. Phil Knight, founder of Nike, in his autobiography, on the last page says, luck plays a big role. Hard work is critical, but luck really decides the outcome. And so Steve Jobs can tell people at Stanford University, you've got to find what you love, because they're very privileged. They can ride their luck. But he doesn't say this to the factory workers making the iPhone, trapped in poverty, who have got no choice but to do what they're told to do. The third problem is a critical problem. You're actually to blame if you fail. When I worked as a junior doctor in the hospitals on Christmas Day, I would see broken bones. And they were always dads who were trying out the new toy that their kid got. So here's a Christmas present. It's meant to bring joy, but it usually brings pain. And when we're told to follow your dreams, it should bring joy, but it usually brings pain. This is Alain de Botton, secular philosopher, writer. He argues that we have created, by telling people to chase their dreams, what's called a meritocracy. And in a meritocracy, you own your success, but you also own your failures. You're to blame if you don't find your dreams because you didn't try hard enough. So how can we flip the script? Well, in the story, Jesus flips it by saying our dream is actually a gift from a generous God. Let's go back to the story. But the landowner answered one of those grumpy workers, I'm not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I'm generous? And here comes the flip. So the last will be first, and the first will be last. In this story, there are many hints at the word gift, gift, gift. And as a hint here, maybe life, maybe our dreams are a gift that we received. So if that's true, the flip is this. Flip number one, it's actually a gift to receive. I still remember when my wife was pregnant, giving birth to our first child. And we went to one of those fancy birthing clinics where there are no doctors. You had to do all the work. You had to do all the work. So while my wife was in labour, I too was in labour, running around trying to look after her. And let me just say, it's easier for the woman than it is for the guy. Because, come on, we all know. Women have been doing it for thousands of years. Guys, we're clueless. We don't know what's going on. And all my friends had warned me, and it's true, there's nothing you can do as a guy while your woman is in labour. In fact, anything you do just makes her more angry. So if you say, do you want some water? They just say, stop asking me that. If you try to touch them, are you all right? Stop touching me. Anything you do just makes her more angry. There's nothing you can do. So all I did was just hide in a corner with a book. And then when my wife gave birth and they handed me the baby, and then I texted all my friends, hey, we've got a baby, they all say to you, congratulations. Like, you have done all the work. But of course, I didn't do any work. My wife did all the work. My child was a gift that I just received with joy. And enough hints here that actually life in the vineyard is a gift. It looks like the workers are working, but all along it was a gift for them to enjoy. Our life is a gift from a generous God. And Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Outliers, The Story of Success, hints at this. Everything is gifted to us. So Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, what they have in common is this. Both were born at exactly the same time. That means they were 18 when the computer revolution hit. if they were any younger, if they were any older, they would have missed out. This was gifted to them. Malcolm Gladwell also worked out that professional hockey players are all born in the first half of their school year. That means they were the biggest ones in their year. That gave them an advantage over everyone else in their school year. This was gifted to them. And our life is gifted to us. We didn't choose our parents. We didn't choose the country we grew up in. We didn't choose the schools our parents sent us to. This was all gifted to us. Flip number 2 then. If that's true then, God has a bigger dream that he wants to gift to us. Now, when you go to an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet, what do your Asian parents always tell you? Don't eat the bread. That should be an Asian motto, like on our t-shirts. Don't eat the bread. Now, there's nothing wrong with bread. Bread is good, but come on. There's something bigger than the bread. You don't want to get full on the bread. You want to eat the seafood. And it's good to dream big. It's good to dream big. So if you want to be a rock star, be a rock star. If you want to be an astronaut, be an astronaut. If you want to be a brain surgeon, be a brain surgeon. If you want to cure cancer, cure cancer. Those things are good. But there's also something bigger that God has dreamed for you. And his dream is this: life with Jesus, the forgiveness of sins, eternal life, a new heart, a new start, a new life, purpose, meaning, hope, and peace. This is the dream that God wants to gift to us. And if that's true, then flip number 3 is this: God pays for his dream for you. For many years, I lived in Chicago. And I remember one night, I took a friend called Peter, and we went to this sketchy neighborhood. And I parked my car, and Peter said to me, "Don't park your car here. This is an unsafe neighborhood." And I said, "But Peter, this is free. This is free. This is free parking." Peter says, "Don't park your car here." And I said to Peter, "But if I park in one of those parking stations, it costs money." And Peter said, "Don't park your car here. If you park it here, it will not be here when you come back." But as an Asian, I said, "But this is free, like the other ones you have to pay for." So Peter then pulled out of his pocket some money and said, "I will pay for the parking." So who should I trust? My instincts or Peter's instincts? Peter is prepared to pay for his version of the truth. And God's dream for us is so big, he's prepared to pay for his dream for us. Because as we know in this story is a bigger story than just a vineyard. In the Bible, the vineyard actually represents life with God in his kingdom. And Jesus dies on the cross, rises from the dead to pay the price so that we can be in God's vineyard, in his kingdom, in the family of God, in Team Jesus, with a new life, life with Jesus, life fulfilled by Jesus, life filled by Jesus, with peace, purpose, hope. So do you remember our original question? It was this: how do I chase my dreams? And today we've looked at this. The script is this: you got to chase your dreams. But we've seen the paradox is this: not everything is so dreamy. So maybe we need a flip. And in this story, Jesus says our dream is actually a gift from a generous God. It's a gift to receive. God has a bigger dream for us, and God pays for his dream for you. I remember as a junior doctor once, I was assisting a surgeon on an operation. And towards the end of the operation, the surgeon said to me, "Do you want to finish the operation as part of your training?" And I said, "Yes." And then I went to close the wound, and I asked the surgeon, "So what suture should I use?" And the surgeon said, "Hey, it's your case. Do whatever you want." So I said, "I want suture number 6. And the surgeon said, "Okay, no, you actually want suture number 3. So sometimes it's good to have what you want. But it's better to have what's true, wise, good, and beautiful. That's actually what we need. And we get told to do whatever we want. And that is good. But it's sometimes better to have truth, wisdom, goodness, and beauty. And Jesus in this story offers God's dream for us, which is true, which is wise, it's good, and it's beautiful. And God's dream for us is this: life with Jesus, the forgiveness of sins, a brand new heart, a brand new start, and life with Jesus in his vineyard, in his kingdom, in his family. That's God's dream for us, and it's a gift we can receive.
All right, here we go. How do you get over the struggles of thanking God for something which apparently, so good. How do you get over the struggles of thanking God for something which apparently inferior to others, e.g., your short stature? Oh, that's low. Come on, guys. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In fact, it frees us up to be thankful, because if you think about it, the alternative, let's say there is no God behind the universe, and this is part of Alain de Botton, even though he's an atheist secular philosopher, it's because we don't believe in a God that's causing all the anxiety and anxiety status. Because if this is a lifeless, careless, pitiless universe, as Dawkins puts it, then really we have to do everything we can, tooth and claw, to succeed. And then we're always insecure in our success, because we know we're just hanging on to it by our fingernails, and we're always threatened by failure and threatened by the success of others. So it's actually a very insecure, anxious existence in this universe. But if we realise there's a caring God behind the universe, it keeps me humble in my successes and also trusting in my failures. And I was thinking, like last week I shared I was in the bottom 1%, shortest 1% of the universe, and I've learned to come to peace with that. But I was also thinking, and sorry, but my youngest son is Jonty. He's in year 8, and he's unbelievably gifted in AFL, like Australian Rules Football. He's in the Swans Academy. He's in the top team for school. But through a cruel twist of fate, he's unbelievably short. So that means the universe has robbed him of a ticket out of here, like a professional football career. He could have been a professional football player, but for the fact he's just born short. And so now you can blame the universe, or you can say, you know what, there's a loving, powerful God behind this universe who gifts me things, and this is what he's gifted me. So I've just got to trust him. There's a loving, powerful reason behind this. And that gives us peace and security.
Awesome. Next question. How, this is God, we've got technology working now and I can see, okay, so that's good. God's bigger dream for us, how might we know that we are pursuing God's purposes and not our own?
Yes, so the Bible talks a lot about truth, goodness, beauty, and wisdom. So we know truth, there is a God, and he speaks to us through the Bible. So that's something we're committed to in the Christian faith. In fact, what we're committed to in the Christian faith is this. We have a speaking God, and one of the most powerful ways he speaks to us is in the Bible. So that's how we know what's true, good, beautiful, and wise. We also know that Jesus died for us on the cross and rose from the dead, and that was a loving act. And it can only be a loving act if he's doing to save us from something. Otherwise, it's an unnecessarily foolish act. Why die on a cross for me unless it achieves something? So there's a loving reason Jesus dies for us on the cross, and it's to save me from my sins, give me a new life, give me eternal life and life with Jesus, and to give me purpose, meaning, and hope. So we know those things to be true, but somewhere along the line now, we're with Team Jesus, and we're now on a journey to spread his love, mercy, justice, and hope on this planet. And that's the big picture. But the question is asking, how do I know wise ways of doing that? And that's where we need the category of beauty and wisdom. And so that's where the Bible has a lot of books which we call wisdom books, where, okay, I know what's true, I know what's good, but how do I know what's wise and what's beautiful? And we know that through reading the wisdom books in the Bible, but also just being close enough to God to just sense his heartbeat, sense his rhythm, and God, where are you guiding me in this journey? Like for Vincent, should I do nursing? Should I do medicine? Like, what's the pathway here? Because they're both good options. So I need wisdom and beauty here.
Yeah, thank you. Equality of men and women.
Yeah.
Says, thank you for last week's talk. I wondered why Christianity has existed for so long, but only in the last 100 years that women's rights became a movement.
Yes. So if we read Tom Holland from Dominion, read Rebecca McLaughlin's books, and also Glenn Scrivener's books, they would say the Bible's always had that vision of equality. In fact, it's the only worldview, the only religion that teaches equality of men and women. And, you know, we have that amazing verse in the New Testament, in Jesus, there's neither male nor female, and neither master nor slave, neither Greek nor Jew. In other words, we're all equal, regardless of our birth status and nature. We're just all equal. So why has it taken so long? I think it just takes a long time for us to calibrate ourselves to God's purposes and God's dreams. And then what these books argue, and Tom Holland is no Christian, he's a secular UK historian, he argues it's because people have come to a better understanding of the Bible that we've discovered, hey, there should be an equality all along. And even like something like as unpleasant as slavery, Tom Holland says it's because of the Bible that in the West, we're the first civilization out of all civilizations to say, no, we have to end slavery. This is wrong.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look back historically, the facts actually support that, right? It was evangelical Christians acting on an understanding of God's love and justice for everyone, like John Wesley and William Wilberforce and that movement that ended slavery.
Yeah.
And so there's no debating that historical fact, right? Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Okay, next question. How would people listening to the parable in first century Palestine have understood the parable?
Oh, yes. So the original hearers, so Jesus was teaching this parable to the original listeners who were actually very self-righteous, very proud in their achievements. And they saw themselves as already in the vineyard through right of birth, through right of culture. And Jesus is actually teaching this parable as a corrective, saying, first of all, it's a gift. Can't you see it's actually a gift? You've been gifted this. So you have no right to be self-righteous or proud about your status. This was gifted to you. But also that flip at the end where the people who barely even worked an hour get entry into the vineyard versus those who worked 12 hours, they felt very upset. Like in fact, this story and one of a handful of other stories is the reason why Jesus in the end got killed by the religious authorities, because they saw this as a big insult. And that last line, that punchline where Jesus says the first will be last, he was actually talking to the established religious authorities at the time. You're the first, where actually you're going to be last. But the last, those who understand this is a gift that you just receive rather than something you earn, they're going to be the ones who come first.
It's a surprising vision, isn't it? But it's a beautiful vision for us that we're all just saved by this gift of God. There's no pride in there. Yeah, beautiful. How do we balance using God's gifts to the best of our abilities and this ambition to excel whilst knowing that we are in God's designed vineyard dream?
It's a great little thing going where you have two mutual truths. God has given us the responsibility to do the best we can with what we've been given, and at the same time, it's a gift. And we sort of see that in the story where the workers still worked, even though this was gifted to them, but they didn't actually have to work. They were all going to get the same day's wage, whether they worked or not, but it was a gift to them. But at the same time, I think we're in our happy place when we're doing the best we can with what God has given us. It's funny, like in our family, we have a saying, you can have a lazy day or you can have a good day. And there's something blur about a lazy day where you just didn't do what you should have done, where there's something intrinsically rewarding about doing what you should have done.
Yeah, so true. You always know it if you've just binged Netflix for the
Yeah.
whole day. It was lazy day, but
Yeah,
not necessarily
not
a
a
good
good
one.
day.
All right, I think we've got time for one more, and in consideration of our Cantonese service that is coming in next, so they've got plenty of time to set up. So what?
They're the
let's-
workers that come in and only do like a few minutes. We've been here all along since the start of the day.
That's right. All right, let's do comparing my dreams to other dreams. In the passage, we read that workers hired earlier complain about their wages. How do we stop comparing our dreams to others or what others are achieving? E.g., people that earn more money than others, or being a single guy when it seems like everyone else around you in relationships. So that's a good question,
That's
isn't
so
it?
good. So the unhappy place for us is where we're proud, self-righteous, and insecure, and threatened by the success of others, and to envy what others have. But once we can trust there's a loving, powerful God behind the universe, He knows what He's doing, trust His dream for us, then that makes us, again, humble in our successes, peaceful with our failures, and we rejoice in the success of others. It's this amazing flip. Once you can do it and rejoice in the success of others, that's a peaceful place to be. And we can only get there if we know it's a gift from God for us and for others.
Yeah, so good. Thank you so much,
No worries.
Sam.
Thanks, Andrew.
Amazing answers to our questions. Sorry if